Let me ask you this question. On a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate your financial house? On a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate your financial house? What is a financial house? Do you know what one is? Do you know how to measure one? So this is what I'm going to talk about today, and the reason why is because, again, as soon as we leave school, we generally start making money. Money is like our building materials. We start constructing this financial house, and for the most part, we've never really been shown fully in depth on how to construct one properly and in which order. So let's just say, for example, somebody came to me and they said, Justin, you know what? I'm gonna give you all the best building materials in the world. I'm gonna give you the best building materials. You have the best man cave, the best garage, the best kitchen, the best bathrooms. I would say you probably best not do that, because in my hands, I would create a hot mess. I'm no Bob Vila, my fiance will attest to that. But what I'm saying here is this. So again, they've given us the materials without the knowledge and training, so we generally don't do as well as we could. So again, I'm gonna go through this. You do what you want with it, but at least this way you have knowledge of how to give yourself a home assessment. You're probably not gonna go buy yourself a $300,000, $500,000, $800,000 house with at least having it checked out first, right? So we're gonna start off with in order. So somebody gives you all the building materials. Well, where are you gonna start? Are you gonna start constructing a mansion and put it on swampland? Well, no, probably not. That'd be dumb. So you're gonna sit there and think, all right, so I want a good foundation. Now, the foundation of a well-constructed financial house begins with making sure your income's protected. And this is because if you were to get sick or injured and couldn't show up to work, your money stops coming in, but your bills still gotta get paid, that makes the problem even worse, right? Or much, much worse than that is you're driving to work and you don't make it home. So now, because we don't know the day we're gonna die, we got two problems here. One, you're physically dead. Two, so is that income stream. That dies with you. So now if you got family or loved ones or money owing, that needs to be taken care of. If we don't have a disaster plan, we're literally planning for disaster when that strikes. If our income isn't properly protected, our whole financial house crumbles. So the next step of our financial house is we want to have ourselves a budget, emergency fund, and a will. A budget is just having a look at how much do I make, how much has to go out, how much is left over. That's your budget. And then you want to be intentional about it, because when people are making 60 grand a year and they're spending 70 or 80, you don't have to be the best mathematician to figure out where that family's going. They're going deeper in debt, right? But now if you got this profit, your finances figured out, you could be more intentional and allocate those dollars proportionally to get them where you want to be. So now we got what's called your emergency fund. Your emergency fund is 3 to 6 months of your expenses set aside in cash. This way, if something were to happen, you get laid off, there's some flu that comes around, now all of a sudden you got money sitting there, so you're not having to borrow it. Because what's challenging is all of a sudden you run out of cash, you got bills coming in, and you go, I owe you, You're like 19% interest, why? Well, that creates an even bigger problem for you. So we wanna make sure that we have that set aside. The next thing we wanna look at is having a will. A will is something on paper that says, if I were to die, I want to make sure that my kids go here and these assets go here, because you should probably decide that, or maybe we'd like to have that, as opposed to the government or the court saying, oh, we'll give it to this guy. Maybe you don't even like him, right? So that's what a will does for you. The next part of your financial house is having a plan to pay off debt. Again, debt, as you've seen from my previous video, that's money working against us. That's people taking from your financial materials and building onto theirs, which are already empires, right? So you want to get that back from the empire and use that towards your own. But nobody gets out of debt by accident, right? It's like quicksand with debt. It's very easy to get into, very challenging to get out of. So you want to have a calculated plan on what's the fastest way mathematically for me to get out of this, and then stick to it. So the next level of our financial house is retirements, right? And retirement's not an age, it's a number. Once we have the right amounts in our account, we could then decide, hey, maybe I want to work a portion of the year. Maybe I want to take a couple months off. Maybe I don't want to work anymore, right? Unless you're the type of person that just hates Fridays and loves Mondays, you might want to look at having a plan, because I promise you this, nobody gets to retirement by accident. Like, hey, what'd you do today? Oh man, I was just walking around and boom, I accidentally retired. Said nobody. The government's plan with CPP and OAS is nowhere near enough for somebody to live a nice retirement. Right? So again, this is why we basically want to put money away today, and it's only a small percentage, to make sure that our tomorrow selves are taken care of. Because if not, our tomorrow selves are going to want to reach back and slap the present versions of ourselves, because we had all this opportunity and building materials and never took advantage of it properly. So college savings, better known as RESPs, this is ways that we could put away money for our children. So in this way, our children can have the opportunity to go to secondary school and come out and get themselves a better career. Now, how this works is the child basically is faced with two options. One, they could absorb a whole lot of debt and stress and have that eaten away at them, come out of school and start to build themselves out of this mountain that they've created. Or two, we could be proactive. We put in a little bit of money, the government then matches some of that, it then grows at interest. So now when the kid goes to school, now your child has a lot more options or doesn't need to borrow so much, which equals less financial stress, which allows them for a better ability to focus on what's important. And the last part of our financial house, the rooftop, that's our other goals and dreams. So whether this be a motorcycle, a nice car, I don't know what you're saving for or what you're after, but generally what happens again is we're not taught how to build these houses. So we generally start building from the roof down and we forget about everything else underneath, right? So this is where you just want to be intentional. You want to take your dollars and decide where they're going to be allocated. And all you're doing is just rationing stuff out proportionally to get you where you want to be at. So this is what a good financial house would look like after it's well constructed. Just rate your own. And again, have a look at this and decide, because not all of this is important to you, but you might want to decide to be like, hey, you know what? I could actually use some home improvements. And then this way you can start to fix that, because I promise you this, there's not a problem in the world, at least that I know of, that actually fixes itself. The only way problems get fixed is through intention, knowledge, and action. So now with this, you're armed with it. Build yourself your nice house. Su casa.